Sup, y'all? I am your host, Tayler Onion, and this is Hang Time, where we focus on amplifying the stories of women in sports. We are back this week, very exciting, with Heather Hill, who is one of the co-owners of the new Sports Bra, which is now a franchise location that's going to be coming to St. Louis later this year. Heather, welcome.
Hello.
Let's get some hang time.
Thanks for having us. Absolutely. Thank you.
Very excited to have you here. We connected a while ago. It seems like not long after the announcement was made that the Sports Bra was coming to St. Louis.
Yeah, probably right in like June, July is when we announced it. So it was quickly thereafter that you reached out.
Yeah.
And said, let's do this.
I was pumped. I had just moved to St. Louis at that point,
That's
and so I'm
awesome.
like, this is fantastic. So let's start off by maybe talking a little bit about the concept of the Sports Bra for those who don't know what it is. Would you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we can go back. Jenny Nguyen is the founder and now CEO. She's kind of stepped away from the original location a little bit to kind of now franchise, but she opened in April of 22. And she tells the story way better than I can, but it was kind of brought on by her and a group of girlfriends that went to go watch a college basketball game and like a final game, right? Like March Madness, something that should be on a screen in just a pub and a bar. And they had to beg for it to be on any TV. And so they finally kind of got relegated to a corner. And it was like I said, it was a big game. It was a huge emotional moment for them. Last second game-winning shot. And they were all kind of after the game, like celebrating. And somebody in the group said, like, how impactful or how cool would it have been? Could you imagine if the sound was on? Right. And so not only are we relegated to these little corners and dark rooms of bars that don't really like look like us, feel like us, then we don't even get the sound to sit and enjoy. So Jenny looked at her friends and said, like, let's fix it. And over the next, couple of years, she quit her job, traveled the world, figured out what she wanted to do, and came up with the name, the Sports Bra. Opened in April of 22. Huge success, right? Forbes magazine wrote up an article. That's actually how it came kind of on my news feed. Because I've been looking at kind of businesses at that point to start. Nothing like the bra by any means, but like real estate, like looking at finance stuff, just small stuff. And so my algorithm said like business, and that's where I saw it. And then she was approached by a couple of different people to say, hey, let's franchise. And then finally in September of 24, she put out the call to action nationwide that just said, hey, we want to franchise. We want to do grassroots. We want the community to build these spaces in these cities, and no specific cities, just across the country. And then we filled out an application, and here we are.
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy trajectory when you think about it. From April of 22, we're not even at the 4-year point,
right?
And we have these new franchise locations that are coming. So there's 3 others in addition to there's the original in Portland, and then the St. Louis
4 new ones.
Yes, including St. Louis.
Yes. So 3 others. So the starting 5 is what we're calling it.
That's right. So Indy, Boston,
Vegas.
I always forget the Vegas one.
Vegas.
What was it about the concept in general that resonated with you specifically? You mentioned you were thinking about real estate or some other finance.
Yeah, I wanted something like passively to just kind of, there's passive income. So real estate, you buy a house, you rent it, let it sit, right? Laundromats, car washes, something just really kind of non-time committal. So this, my wife and I...
Slightly different.
Slightly different. She comes from an entrepreneurial background, and she's always like, hey, let's do something for ourselves. And never anything really kind of like stuck or resonated all that much. And she always said anything but a restaurant, anything but a bar. And for me, this resonated just with the mission around women in sport. So I grew up an athlete. I traveled and moved around a lot as a kid. And the first thing you do when you're a kid is sign up to play on a sports team. So then you get to know people, right? You meet people. And even as an adult, it's kind of one of the ways that I network. So just the mission of women in sport just is so true to me. It's where I met our business partner, Sarah, was through softball in college. So everything I know about myself is really shaped as an athlete, as a youth athlete, and then has kind of carried over, of course, into my adult life. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Why do you think these, we talked about Portland and opening in 2022, kind of this crazy trajectory. It's not just the Sports Bra. There are an additional, I think, 20 that have opened. We were talking offline. We had the folks from The Dub on last December as well. Why do you think spaces like this matter right now in sports culture?
Yeah, I think it's twofold. It is a good business, right? 50% of the population are women. Dads have daughters, right? They're all playing sports. We want places where we can go and celebrate those women playing sports, watching sports. And then as far as like community, like the last few years, probably especially since COVID, we've lost communal spaces for women. I myself am a member of the LGBT community. And when Novak shut down over on the Grove, which you're not from St. Louis, you probably don't understand that, but like it was heartbreaking for the community. And there are very, very few places that women can get together in an inclusive environment to just kind of create community and be safe and welcoming together. And the fact that we get to do it with sport is like beyond so cool.
Yeah, sports. There's been so much aside from just the kind of sports bar movement that's happening right now. There's also some kind of, I would say, like culture lifestyle crossovers we've seen with Together launching and all the cool things that they're doing. Just Women's Sports, The Gist, even just being a women-led media company there. Why do you think we know that women's sports have been cool since they've existed? Why do you think that all of these things are kind of gaining traction right now? I know to some people who are outside or who haven't been paying attention to women's sports for maybe as long as we have, that it seems like it's just all of a sudden blowing up.
It does feel all of a sudden from an outsider's world. And I think a lot of what the bra will do is kind of almost teach people that, hey, sports been around for years, right? I'm an older millennial, so I'm an 83 baby. So the 99ers, like I grew up watching the 99ers, right? And I just socially, the world wasn't where we are today. So like, yes, if you watch soccer and you like soccer, then the 99ers were important to you. Like I remember seeing Brandy Chastain watching that game, and my mom like turned off the TV so quick, and she was like, that's disgusting. Like women shouldn't be on in their sports bras on TV. Like, I mean, anytime a news report came up, she wouldn't let us watch it, wouldn't let us see it.
Oh my gosh.
So it's crazy. And so I talk about that because every, I think, generation has had that effect. So it was the 99ers for me. I think today it's the Caitlin Clark effect. I mean, that girl can hoop, right? She can play. And so to put that on like a main screen and let just general sports enthusiasts see that, oh, she's draining like logo threes. Like there's dudes that can't push the ball that far consistently, accurately, right? To that level. So I think that's really helped build kind of the validity in sport, as terrible as that is, right? We've had to kind of prove ourselves above and beyond that it's competitive and that it's valid and that we deserve the, kind of the spotlight, if you will. And then broadcasting, I'm sure we'll talk about that too, but broadcasting, like ESPN is seeing it, right? Like Whoopi Goldberg's creating a channel.
Right.
They're seeing it, like I said earlier, as a business aspect. And Alexis Ohanian, like with the, what's the track and field, the indoor
Athlos,
right? Like that's huge, right? His investment into the bra itself, just investing in women's sport, and really just everybody's out there talking about it. Women's sports, like 257% rise, and just like as a business, it's just wild. So just the trajectory of who we are as women, what we expect from ourselves, the tolerance level of what we will, like boundaries and things we've set. And I think we're just demanding space and being loud about it and saying, hey, we're here. And
rightfully so, right? I think that percentage that you just mentioned, I equate it to on a very different scale when a city gets a new franchise, right? I think about St. Louis City coming here. I would not have classified St. Louis as a soccer town or a soccer city before, and I'm from 2.5 hours north.
Sure.
St. Louis is still the largest metropolitan area that I grew up with.
Right.
Now that I've been here, I see the connections. But I think even the excitement that kind of has leaked out to the outer area, like the greater St. Louis area and some of the more rural areas, that has been so much fun to watch. And I think it's the same thing with women's sports, right? Like there's so many new, there's so much new attention, but there's also Unrivaled. There's also now the PWHL. There's also Love and MLV.
Softball,
and
AUSL.
Yes,
now
exactly.
the baseball that's playing out of Springfield, Illinois here. So lots.
Yeah. I think in 2022, there maybe could have been an argument against like, what are you outside of college athletics? What are you even going to put on TV? Now we're talking about broadcasts happening all the time. Whoopi Goldberg. How much do you think that's going to be an advantage for, I guess, how you're thinking about broadcasting things at the bra?
It's still going to be a trick. So, I mean, when Jenny started 5 years ago, almost now at this point, 5% of women's sports were being broadcast. And today we're hearing mixed, right? Somewhere between 15 and 20%. ESPN has just done a full Sunday lineup, Sunday night women's sports. There's ESPNW. It's still really tricky commercially to kind of navigate all of that. So I'm sure that owning any sports bar is going to be tough, but finding commercial rights for these kind of niche streaming apps where we can show it legally in the bra is going to be really tricky, very, very time consuming and not cheap. So we were actually approached by someone who follows us. She has a networking group on Facebook, and she asked if we would show the Netflix all women's card lineup. Excuse me, I don't know all the verbiage the right way, but it's May 16th, and it's an MMA fight, and it's a full women's card, but it's on Netflix.
Right.
Netflix doesn't have a commercial account, so you have to treat it as like a pay-per-view event. So you have to pay by seat, and so it can get really expensive to run a commercial space with. And then because it's not on Channel 5, right, we have to go above and beyond and extra. So I think that's only going to get easier as we move through the next couple of years. And I can't imagine how the bra originally and then the older other women's sports bars, how they navigated that in the beginning. I think we're going to have, obviously, less headache than them, even though it's still going to be a headache.
That's not even something that I would think about when you're getting ready to open a sports bar or a restaurant of any sort, that you have to also pay for the commercial rights. So it's not just get the TV, turn the TV on, pay for your cable bill.
Anything that you can get anything you can get through cable, then as long as you're under a business account, then that's cool, right? But Ion, unless you have the DirecTV business and you pay for the Ion channel, which is the W, Peacock, you have to get their commercial account, which is not cheap, and tons of women's sport is on Peacock.
Gosh.
So yeah, it's very confusing and very, very convoluted and layers on layers on layers. And then even if you have DirecTV, you still have to get the music rights. So there's I'm learning 4 different industries that you have to pay for copyright just on the music alone. So when the commercial kicks on, that's by a different protection. So it's a lot.
Right.
It's a lot that goes into it.
Oh
so
my
definitely
gosh,
some legal help.
Does the same thing apply for, I know the PWHL does a lot of their games on YouTube. MLV does a lot of their stuff on YouTube. Does that still, there's a commercial account there that applies? Oh my gosh. What again, just things you don't think about in launching this.
And we didn't think about it either. And not that any of these would be deterrents for us, but I probably would have known these answers a lot sooner in the process than a couple months before we open. Like, oh, wait, you got to figure that out? Like,
sure.
Oh, okay.
Has there been, I mentioned our friends from the Dub, has there been kind of a community, and I assume you probably also have resources through Jenny and the Bra and the original location. Has there been kind of a community of these women's sports bar owners that you've found who you're able to share these resources with? What does that look like?
So there's been a couple. Obviously, being a franchisee in a franchise situation, Jenny and our franchise director, Lindsay, are really like our go-to. They're like the heartbeat of every single question, anything that the brain, I guess we'd say. So they're our first resource. I have reached out to and touched base with the Dub in KC, just kind of wishing them luck and trying to work a full-time job, open a bar, learn an entirely new business for myself. There hasn't been a whole lot of time to make it places, but I've reached out to a bar of their own up in Minneapolis. The Dub. There's a new one coming in Chicago. Next level. Yeah, I've heard of it. I've sent them hey, we're doing this in St. Louis. Good luck. And everybody's very, very responsive to that. But have I met up or gone? No, unfortunately. Time and resources just kind of don't allow for a lot of it. But eventually, hopefully, once we get kind of up and running and we can go to the Dub can come see us and kind of do that. But Jenny's been a great resource. And I know Jenny's and since she was the first, I know she has all of those relationships, with the Jacks down in the Long Beach one and then a bar of their own. And Jenny, she's very, very ingrained in all of the sports bar world.
Yeah. It's been so much fun to see just the names that we're talking about, right? The Dub, a bar of their own. Yeah. I know I think it's Rough and Tumble that's out.
Rough and Tumble actually just opened their second up in Seattle. They did a huge second location in Seattle. Watch Me in Long Beach.
Okay. Me. Very good. I know there's Babes in Chicago as well.
In Chicago. Norma, I've actually communicated with her a bit too as she was opening, and she did all of that. Her and her girlfriend just bootstrap all by themselves. Wow. Painted, relayed floor. I mean, they did it all on their own. So it was really cool to watch them.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome.
yeah.
There's so many. Bar 9 is another one that's coming
Bar
around. I
9
think it's
is
in Texas.
Texas.
It's in Austin, maybe.
Yep.
So in talking about how St. Louis came to be one of the starting 5, you mentioned you had to go through an application process. Yep. What was a part of the application to make St. Louis, like, what do you think made your application stand out and St. Louis stand out from some of the other cities that I assume were in there?
Yeah. So I don't know. And I've never been bold enough to like ask the question to Jenny and Lindsay. There were some definite checklists that they went through, like, are they involved in sport? Do they have the money? Is this going to be, can they quit their jobs? Are they involved? Are they in community? So a lot of those just yes and no's that we had to go through. But I wouldn't say that the interview was like, it was long. We started in November and we didn't say yes both ways until April. So
Okay.
November 24, April of 25 is when we said yes. So weekly kind of Zoom calls, just, getting to know each other. Obviously, like I said, the vetting process and, background checks, if you will, all that stuff to make sure that we as owners were in line with the brand and,
Sure.
and the mission. It was, nerve wracking, right? Because first question is like, so why the bra? And I'm like, because it sounds cool. It sounds fun. I think St. Louis needs it. I would say that any major city has the need for the bra. And I do think that one thing that set us apart from other major cities is that we don't have like these huge major sports teams. Right? We don't have an NWSL. We don't have a WNBA. We do have the football, right? So the Slam, back-to-back national champs.
Yep.
We have professional roller derby. So we've got kind of outliers, right? But those 3 big major sports, 4 or 5 that we actually show on ESPN, we don't have. So we need this space to help build community, right? We can't go to the stadium to watch and meet each other and be in a space with people that like the same things.
Sure.
So we need the bra probably more than some of these other big cities that are super inclusive and super welcoming and just super expansive. I think kind of living where we live in the Midwest, I think it's a much needed space for women, for sports lovers, for fathers and their daughters, like for everybody.
Yeah. All the things. Do you hope that, I'm sure somewhere in the back of your mind is the hope that, okay, we're going to start this community and kind of show that St. Louis has an appetite for women's sports and these teams, and then you hope that they follow?
I would love it.
Yeah.
I would love it. I think I've said this a couple times in different interviews and stuff, but I think we'd be naive to think that a 140-seat bar could change the trajectory of an entire city, but like, why not?
Yeah.
Right? So STL City has a women owner. She's been kind of putzing around, so we hear the idea of putting in for an expansion team. And like, if we fill those seats in the bra, like, women want women's sports. People want women's sports in St. Louis. And I can't believe that we have very, very limited teams. So why not have the bra be the spark?
Yeah, I'm with you. Since I've been here, it feels like there is an appetite for more, not only more pro teams, and maybe that's just in the wake of the Rams leaving. That's been what, 10 or 11 years ago now. Still probably a sore subject, but I think that it just feels like the like need and want to support women's sports feels palpable. I think in maybe in certain areas of the city or different places. So it'll be fun to see kind of if the bra has a direct impact on that too. What reactions have you received from the community so far since you announced last summer?
Everybody is like so welcoming and warm and wants it. And it also depends like kind of the direction of, so like if it's posted on Instagram, right? People who are into women's sports, who follow women's sports, who know about the bra, maybe another woman sports bar, then they see something about the bra. We did an article with St. Louis Post-Dispatch, and the comments there, because their reach, right, is the entire city. Yeah. Right. So the comments there were kind of like, as you can expect, like, this would never work. It's a niche. They're going to be 6 months and they're closed. But directly in the community of Maplewood has been beyond supportive. Every time we're at the bar doing something, we get knocks on the door and just like, giving us thumbs up and like so encouraging. All of the business owners there have kind of reached out and want to mentor and help us because they all know that we've never done this before. And then every time we do a watch party, like we have people like crying, telling us how appreciative they are that we're
Wow.
doing this here. And I'm just like, no, thank you. Like we should be saying thank you to you for coming and supporting. So it's been been very remarkable, like just the overall overwhelming positive response that we've gotten from everybody. When we went in Maplewood to get our liquor license, the mayor was like, "Does anybody or what is it? I approve?" And everybody was like, A. And then one of the guys was like, "Hell yeah, I got 3 daughters. I'll be there every Thursday." Like, I
Amazing.
mean, it's just like beyond cool the reception that we've gotten.
What is the experience you're hoping to create? So when people walk through the doors, what should they expect?
Yeah. So obviously, the feeling we want will be like palpable, tangible, almost like the hair kind of right. It's going to be a group, a space where everybody's there for a specific reason, right? To watch sport, to cheer, to build fandom, to build community. And then on the back end, we're just going to be like a really good restaurant, really good hospitality, like killer drinks, killer menu, very inclusive menu. So we've got vegan, vegetarian, gluten free. Going to be a completely free gluten free fry system. So like anybody with allergies or like specific dietary restrictions will be there for you. So again, it's going to be an inclusive, welcoming menu, just like the space itself. And then we have a designer. Her name's Veronica. She's working in partnership with our design team at corporate, and so we just wanted to kind of feel like home
Mhm.
almost. So a lot of greenery, and then it's going to feel like St. Louis. So we're going to ask the community to bring by their old sport memorabilia,
Awesome.
whether it's a trophy or a picture or a jersey. We're going to have a mural wall. So anybody that, I don't know if famous is the right word, but anybody that's known in the sport world that
Yeah.
comes in can sign it. And then members of the community will have a picture, a photo op there. So lots of feelings. And I do think it's way different than a typical average sports bar because it's going to be built around St. Louis and for almost a different clientele per
Mhm.
se. It's not going to be, like a Buffalo Wild Wings where it's just TVs, and the music cranked up. You have to yell at each other. We want a space for community to come and hang out and get to know each other and bring your crafts and bring your kids
Yeah.
and just hang out.
All the things.
Yeah.
Did you put out a call for folks to bring their
We
memorabilia
haven't
or
done yet.
Okay.
So we will.
Okay.
Absolutely. We've had a couple of people hear other interviews that we've done and bring things
Okay.
by.
Maybe that was it.
Yeah, but we haven't yet put out a call to action just
Okay.
because we want to have like some organization down like in the basement to be able to like prepare for
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I had as you were saying that, I was remembering one of my teammates. I played volleyball at the University of Illinois, and one of my teammates was on the 2020 Tokyo team who won the first ever gold medal
Very
for
cool.
USA Volleyball. And she's from Collinsville on the Illinois side, but St.
No,
Louis
that's
area.
St. Louis. Yeah, that's Metro.
And so her dad was like, I heard they're going to be asking
So
for this.
nice,
So
yeah.
cut to camera, Barchi, you got to get a jersey
Bring it by.
in the sports bra.
Bring it by. We will have it.
Yep.
A space for you.
That's right. That's right. We got to get it in there. So outside of that, plans for like early programming, is there going to be some sports bars will do like a trivia night every Thursday or something on Tuesday nights? Do you have plans for that type of programming to
So we'll
be
meet
happening?
we'll meet the needs of the community, right? We have running groups, we have book clubs, we have a
Yep.
group that wants to do like a tie-dye night and like buy our shirts and then do a tie-dye craft night. So
Awesome.
if people want trivia, then we'll give them trivia as long as it's not on a game night, right? A big game night. Our space too is kind of there's a east side and a west side, so we can actually kind of accommodate both. Like,
Okay.
so yes, the answer is yes. We're open to everything. We'll have a microphone. There is a little bit of a stage in the bar, so we will have the ability to host other events, and we are open to whatever the community wants, whatever the people want, whether it's a fundraiser or just a happy hour with a group from work or, a specific trivia, drag bingo, whatever that looks like. We're here for it.
Do you find that planning, I'm thinking about just the differences between, and this is an overgeneralization entirely, but when we think of a male sports fan, you think of sports on the TVs, you think of maybe a jersey, you think of I think of wings and beer, and
Yep.
that's kind of where it stops. Do you find it challenging? There's all these like studies, all this data that's coming out now about the women's sports fan and kind of as a multi hyphenate, that it's not just shrink it and pink it. It's not just women who want to watch women's sports. It's women who are also fans of all sports, men's sports
Yep.
included, and then also people generally, not just women, but people who are fans of women's sports and want to specifically support women's sports. Do you find it hard to think through, like, we're talking about a book club, we're talking about a tie-dye, all these things coming through? Is that exciting to you, or are you like, oh no, we're going to be so many different things?
It's cool. And I think what keeps us kind of centered in that is that it will revolve around the community.
Mhm.
And obviously, I think sport is the first and foremost. And
For
like
sure.
I said, if there's a college basketball game that, let's say it's LSU versus Tennessee, right? We're obviously not going to do a trivia night that night. We're going to
Sure.
be showing that ball game. So the kind of finagling of those events while staying true to who we are as a sports bar will be a little tricky. But again, we'll just meet the community with what they want and where they're at. And at the end of the day, we need butts and seats.
Yeah.
And so if trivia does it, trivia does it. If it's a book club, or if it's just games all the time, then cool.
Yeah, it's that has been interesting, fun for me to see like what types of events again that are happening.
Yeah.
There's, I don't know if you're familiar with the Give and Grow. That's another one
Mhm.
they do. They're like basketball or football, or I think they've done soccer balls as well, but they're planters. And so their whole thing is they've got, people, women and others who are interested in supporting women's sports, or even with the NFL or the NBA.
Sure.
And they come in and plant these plants, but they're sports
Okay.
planters,
That's cool.
which is super cool.
That's
But
fun.
again, there's so many
There's
things
so
that
many
are
things. And
so far outside
we're
of what
really
you would imagine.
into kind of experiences as just like as consumers today. The Sports Bra in Portland is doing a paint and sip night. And it's
Amazing.
sports themed.
Sure.
Right. I see Babes in Chicago doing a pitch your friend. You seen that?
I did see that.
So they do like a dating
Yeah,
night,
yeah.
right? And so somebody gets up and builds out a whole deck for like kind of single friends. So that may be something that we
Yeah.
kind of get into. And at the Bra, they had a couple meet on grand opening. And then early December, they shut down the space because one of them was proposing to the other one.
Oh my
And so they
gosh.
made like a whole, so like, yeah, let's do a pitch your friend and then
Yeah.
have a anniversary or a proposal at the bar. That would be
Right.
so fun.
That's so much fun. If you could wave your magic wand, look in your crystal ball, you're imagining opening day, what comes to mind?
Oh man.
Relief? Maybe just a sense of
Maybe the night after opening day, I could just like take a deep breath. Maplewood is telling us to expect a lot, right? We've had, so we're right across from the Schnucks. There's a huge parking lot, Schnucks. We've had a band reach out and say, hey, we want to put up a tent and do like, just it's an all female band. Maplewood's like, we'll need security. We need the police there for
my
like
gosh.
traffic. We get up on a ladder and like cut down a net. And so it's like grand opening. So Jenny's sport was basketball. And
Awesome.
so that's what she did at her grand opening. So that will extend to all of the franchises as kind of like the ribbon cutting ceremony. But gosh, I'm trying not to like look that far in the future. But the energy is going to be on point. We have a couple of MCs that have reached out and say, hey, can we bring a microphone and like work your crowd? So I think it's going to be like a week-long event, a couple of soft openings. We'll have a friends and family night where we just let our friends and family in and kind of show them the space. And then the official grand opening, the corporate team will be in. Obviously, we're going to make it an event. Hopefully, it's
Sure.
on a big game day that it like kind of lines up.
Yep. So speaking of opening date, by the time this episode comes out, it's going to be mid to late March.
Yep.
Is there anything you can share as far as opening date, or we're still early 2026?
we said early 2026. At this point, I wish we had just said 26 because our expectations, not that they've been let down, but I think I way underestimated the process.
Sure.
So early 26 obviously is not happening. We're in March, right? I kind of joke with people like August is still early, right?
Yeah, I was going to say anything that's before like the half of the year is still
I don't know,
technically
right?
early.
I don't
Yeah.
know when early is to people, but we're also trying not to get people's hopes up and
Sure.
kind of ride this roller coaster. So we're riding the roller coaster behind the scenes. Trust me, we're doing as much as we can to get it open as soon as possible because it's not cheap to open a business and not having any money come in. We want it open as soon as possible.
For
So
sure.
nothing I can share just for, I mean, not our protection, but just for like,
Yeah.
it's just easier to, when it happens, it happens. And then
Yep.
we don't have expectations on it either. So
Yeah. There you go. I have to imagine it's a little bit like buying a house and renovating that, and there's things that you didn't know that come along with it
all of
behind
it,
the scenes. Yeah.
all of it.
Yep.
I don't know anything. So I'm learning
Yep.
every single thing in the moment as we work our way through it. And then just like with buying a house and the permitting process, and you take down a sheet of drywall and there's termites and you didn't know that, or there's a foundation crack and you
Yep.
didn't know that. So luckily we're just leasing the building, so we don't have to really do any of that, worry
Yep.
about any of that. But that's what we're doing now, is pulling back the drywall on the hospitality industry. And it's
Right.
like,
Metaphorically.
yes,
Pulling back the drywall.
yes, and it is intimidating. It's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, as we kind of shift into our wrap up here, I always ask if you could get some hang time with any woman in sports, who would it be and why?
Did you prep me for this question, Taylor?
It was in there.
Oh my gosh. Current state, I'd say like Sue Bird.
Okay.
She might be the Caitlin Clark effect for me, right? I think what she's done.
Yep.
I think it's just awesome. I watched her playing ball at UConn when I was a kid. And then what she's doing for community in general, the LGBT community, her and Megan with the trans community, just the women's sports community. Man, I love Sue Bird, Brandy Chastain.
Yeah.
Lisa Fernandez,
Okay.
softball. So like she was a badass bitch. Sorry, she
You can
was.
say that.
Yeah, she was awesome, right? She Olympic softball, just ultra star. So any number of them, anybody,
Yeah.
bring them all.
Yep. I love it. It's very rare that somebody can just name one. There's always a
Yeah.
handful of
Right.
women in sports. I love it. All right, where can listeners get involved? Where can they support either you or the Sports Bra, the St. Louis location? Where can they do that?
Yeah, so we are all over the socials. So I'm gonna tag it now, but what is it? The Sports Bra St. Louis
Mhm.
at Instagram, on Instagram. That's also Facebook. So our corporate team does all of that. So if you do like text or DM or do any of that, it goes straight through the corporate team, and then they kind of field them and get them to me if needed. We're at the Bra Tuesdays and Wednesdays. If somebody wants to knock on the door and come say hi.
Awesome.
But otherwise, yeah, follow us on socials.
On socials. Yeah.
Socials.
Fabulous. All right. Well, Heather, thank you so much for taking the time
Absolutely.
out of your busy schedule
Awesome.
to join me today and to get some hang time.
This is great. Thanks, Taylor.
Absolutely.
Great.
All right, listeners, we will see you back in a couple of weeks. Until then, you can check us out at HangTimeP0D across socials or hangtimep0d.com. We'll see you next time.